All right, so if you've watched my first part, right, that's my general scrambled brain thoughts of Mandalorian and Grogu after a couple days after seeing it, kind of where my thoughts are with it. If you didn't watch that, I've got about a 6 out of 10. It's a little above average, kind of basic story, nothing crazy that's happening. It's fun, it'll be a good time, but it's nothing groundbreaking. And so this will be my spoiler kind of review, my spoiler thoughts, diving into more plot of the movie and whatnot. So, story begins. Mandalorian and Grogu on a mission to take out an Imperial and some kind of Imperial remnant leader on the snow planet. I'd say that opening scene is one of my more favorite parts of the movie. Right? You've got this action. It's playing on the old Mandalorian first couple seasons of the show. He's coming in as this ruthless bounty hunter, taking guys out any means necessary. Obviously, he has Grogu with him, doing some stuff to help him out, and it's a ton of fun. Action chase, you have AT-ATs and snow troopers, and it gets you ready for a film, right? It's a great opening scene. It's a great Mandalorian opening scene because they utilize that type of opening scene with him frequently. So it's a great opening for the movie. We take out the guy. He's picked up by Zeb from Star Wars Rebels. He's to me a really cool part of the movie. I'm a huge Star Wars Rebels fan, and so if you are, you'll enjoy seeing Zeb there. He's in character. The voice is great. He looks great, and he's for the small role they give him, he's a lot of fun to have in there. They go to this rebel base that we've seen in the show. Sigourney Weaver, veteran X-Wing pilot leader, is there. She's been working with Mando. She gets him a new Razor Crest because why not? They found one somewhere. Though I prefer probably the cool Hot Rod fighter, Naboo fighter, but nonetheless, right, they get a new Razor Crest, and she's got this new Imperial villain he needs to go after. High profile guy, they don't even have a picture of him, but they need to take him down. But there's a bunch of hoops you gotta jump through, right? So she gives him these steps, very video game-esque. Watching it, it was like, this is a video game. You're doing mission to get to the other part, We've got to go to Nalhutta to talk to the twins, seen in Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett, who are now kind of in charge of the Hutt Empire. They want Rada, Jabba's son, who we saw in Clone Wars as a baby, that he has been captured, right? He's been captured, and they want Mandalorian to go get him. So he goes there, he talks to him, they give him the mission, he goes off. I think it's Shikari, something like that. It's a moon of some sort that he visits to find Rada. He gets there, talks to some locals, and finds Rada. Turns out Rada's not really captured. He kind of is. He's under kind of a contract of fights before he can be free with this head boss here, crime boss, and he's dominating it. He's a super jacked Hutt. He looks really cool, just like his comic book version. Super jacked, super cool looking, awesome looking Hutt. His fighting, right? So I guess off branch. His fighting in the movie is really cool. Seeing a Hutt fight, moving around, it's something we haven't really gotten to see before, other than like Clone Wars maybe, moving around. But the fighting and the brutality and the smashing people, really cool to see. I think they did an awesome job with that. But Mando gets there, he finds him, goes to the boss. Boss says, hey, he'll be free after one, but not really, because I'm going to rig the last match for him to die. Mando tells Rada. Rada says no, that's not real. And then Mando gets captured and put in the ring with Rada, against Rada. So then they fight. But Mando opts to yield. They send in creatures. Now this fight is one of the cooler parts of the movie, in my opinion, where they send out all of the creatures from the New Hope chessboard game that R2 and Chewbacca play on the Falcon. right? But it's all the actual creatures, and the floor looks like the board's texture, art design, and they fight these monsters that we saw many years ago, first seen in a hologram, which is really, really cool. Really cool fight. Ultimately, one thing leads to another. They defeat the monsters or help the monsters kind of escape by shortening the gate and the electrical field, and monsters going all over the city, and Rada's trying to escape with Mando, and Mando's chasing after him. They want to go together because Mando needs this information to find this Imperial, and Rada is the key to that. Eventually, Mando gets Rada, they leave. Right, and at this point in the movie, you're going to be having a really good time. The whole movie's pretty fun, right? But this first part of it's really interesting. We've got a new planet, we've seen Rada, there's Gladiator Arena. We're developing, okay, we found this Imperial. But we're leaving. Mando's like, well, I need to know this Imperial guy. You need to go back to the twins, even though Rada's like, the twins are going to kill me because I'm their threat. Jabba's son, I'm the heir. And Mando mentions the name Coin, right? And Rada knows Coin. Coin's the crime boss. Turns out they need to do a U-turn, right? They need to go right back to the planet they left, find him at his mansion, and capture him. And that's pretty much what they do, really easily, really quickly, with a little bit of chase and action in there. And this part's pretty. This is where, and I listened to Star Wars Theory talk about this, and it's a really good point, and it's very true. This is where the movie shifts, right? It goes from this developing story that you feel like you're going to keep going on this adventure to a halt. We find out that this guy, who is kind of a schmo, not really that interesting, other than he's just a basic crime boss on this planet, turns out he's the giant high Imperial executive officer man that they got to find. And where they could have had a new guy on a new planet, and now Rada and Mando have to go on this other adventure together, having them do a U-turn in the movie is really odd. It's a weird choice. There's not really a good reason for it. I don't know if they're trying to change our, surprise the audience. Oh, turns out it's that guy. But it's not very effective here for what I think they're trying to do. And so, we get him and cool and whatnot. And we capture him, take him back to the Rebels, or the New Republic now. But at that point, the movie shifts. It hits a shift point, and that's really where episode 1, or the first arc of episodes, kind of ends. Okay, you went off, you got Rada, that probably took a couple episodes, and we got back with our guy. Boom, there's your series, couple episodes together. Then, because we didn't go to the twins are mad. Mando's hanging out at home with Grogu, and Embo was sent after Mando, captures Mando, right? Takes him to the twins. So we're on the kind of our separate, now we're on a whole new episode of arc, new couple episodes, right? It's what it feels like. And Embo's cool in the movie. If you've seen Clone Wars, you know he's a bounty hunter in that. And so he's really cool. He's got his dog. He's just like the cartoon. I do think he could have been more effective. I think other than name and recognition, you could have put anyone there, right? You could have just made it some bounty hunter after him. There was nothing really special that occurs because it's Embo. He uses his helmet as a shield at times and stuff, which is unique to him. But beyond that, he doesn't wow you as like this is like a rival for Mando in this movie. He's just a guy that Mando fights and is more difficult than a basic henchman. But Embo gets him. The coolest part is by far his entrance, where he's in the rain and he's saving or capturing Mando stealthily and whatnot. Very cool. But as we see throughout the movie, he really just doesn't do more than just like he's a basic fighter against Mando. There's nothing beyond that they expanded on. He's just this guy from Clone Wars they brought in to fulfill a basic role. So Mando gets captured, and this is where it really takes a funny, goofy turn, which for me, it's funny. Like I laugh and it was charming a little bit, but for some like mature storytelling, which mature storytelling can be in a kids movie, right? But it kind of loses that because then Grogu and the Anzellans hop in this really, really tiny ship, which is kind of funny. You know, okay, I can live with like the tiny, tiny, overly tiny ship. And they leave on this super tiny ship to go to Nal Hutta to get Mando. And of course, it's like, this is where you have to really suspend your disbelief because it's like, okay, they're going to go to Nal Hutta, the main base of the crime syndicate that the Hutts run, by themselves as a bunch of like kind of helpless little creatures. Okay, right? Fine. So they go and they get there and yeah, I mean, they climb the main tree and they sneak through some pipes using their littleness to their advantage. All while Mando's inside and confronting the twins. The twins are ticked off at him. Turns out Rada, who we thought escaped earlier, was captured as well by him. Somehow brought back, and he's now in prison with them, being tortured. And, you know, they, similar to Return of the Jedi with Jabba, they hit the button or they have the trap door and Mando falls into a pit. But no Rancor. Instead of Dragon Snake was the main kind of boss there, boss fight. But some sea water creatures in a watery basement area, not a sandy floor with a Rancor. Mando fights his way through it. It barely survives. Ultimately, what helps him survive, though, is Grogu and the Anzellans. They blow up. Grogu uses a bomb and blows up a gate or a little water drain, which gives Mando the opportunity to get out. And they all escape. But all while this is happening, Mando does get hit by a tooth, small bite, by the dragon snake, which poisons him. Right, and then they're off in the forest. They escape the main base, and they're running off, getting chased down by these droid bounty hunters. Now, this is also something I think is kind of odd, is that the twins pretty much only have, for the most part, other than Embo, these droids they reprogram as bounty hunters. And that's fine, right? But if you look at like Jabba, the old Jabba's palace, you don't see a lot of droids, right? Jabba kind of doesn't really respect droids, I feel like, either. He has all these like alien creatures and bounty hunters and these neat outfits, these people, right? Boba Fett and all that. And here it's like these twins who are running the same syndicate not too far later. They don't have hardly any actual bounty hunters. The droids are all the bounty hunters. Bounty hunters are just reprogrammed droids, which are cool visually, but it's all of them. All of them are these droids. There's no longer these bounty hunters that seem to be employed by the Hutts or hanging out in their main base, which is odd. And there's only the twins in charge. I mean, once upon a time, there was a lot more Hutts kind of in charge in the decision making, but okay, twins are all in charge. Cool. Droids. Yada yada. Mando's escaping with Grogu. And he's trying to send Grogu with the Anzellans to escape and go back home. Because Mando knows deep down that he's going to die soon. That's what we're supposed to think, because he's been poisoned. Now, the problem with all of this part, right? It's not the escape, it's not the whatever. There's no stakes, and it's a problem throughout the whole movie. When any character is in danger at any point, is there is zero stakes at any point. You never, for 1 second, think Grogu's in danger. You never think Mando's in danger. You don't think at all that anything is going to happen. They don't set up that anything's going to happen. They don't make you think that anything's going to happen. You know that when Mando's poisoned and he leaves Grogu and he runs off to distract and die from the poison, you know he won't die. And so this is where the music, while the music and the score is really cool, it's the Mando music, it brings you to that mindset, to that vibe, and it does a really good job with that. Like this part specifically, they have very emotional music, very like somber, like we're going down, we know he's going to die soon, that type of music. And it just doesn't work because at no point do you ever think he's going to die. The emotion of the music doesn't match the emotion you're really feeling because you know Mando is safe. Ultimately, you knew that Grogu wasn't going to go with the Ancellans, which he doesn't, and he was going to meet up with Mando, and Mando was going to survive. And so that's what happens. Mando passes out, Grogu finds him, Grogu force heals his wound, which I know for a lot of people will be an issue, probably, because it's just kind of an OP power. It was fine. It's still, I think I'm a little over, though, the Grogu overpowered, where he'll be overpowered 1 second he's helpless, and overpowered and helpless, and okay, he can heal his wound, right? But he's still poisoned, so he's still not in a great shape. Which probably doesn't make a ton of sense, right? Because he survives the poison. Even though Grogu heals the wound, the poison's still in him. That's the thing that was killing him, not the wound itself. So it's odd, because then he passes out and he's out for probably multiple days, it seems like. But he's still barely alive. So I guess he's alive still. But the poison doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Grogu's keeping him alive. He builds a little Yoda hut, which is cute. I think it's a little on the nose. Like, okay, he's going to make like a hut that looks just like Yoda's hut. Really cute and on the nose. But really cute. It's fun. It makes you laugh. He's patting the mud and creating the shelter. But okay, right? Grogu can do all these things. That's fine. Okay, suspending your disbelief. But these are the type of things that kind of like okay, sure. And so then they do this classic thing where you have the kid taking care of the parent. Parent can't take care of them. Kid does it instead. And so for like 10, 15 minutes, this is when it comes to a complete halt, the movie, pacing-wise. You had your kind of first break when the first couple episodes, or what felt like a couple episodes, concluded. And then we're on our second arc, and it's kind of going, but then it halts right here. Mando's out, and we just watch Grogu essentially just scrounge the forest and do cute things for a while, right? And then he finds this guy who's just hanging out in the middle of the woods on like a little pond, on a rocking chair, and he has fish, and Grogu's stealing his fish and surviving off of them. And then Grogu keeps going back, but gets caught. And the guy's talking to him a little bit. He's an alien-looking guy, and I'm going to pause there because this kind of another gripe I have, and it's kind of with Disney Star Wars in general, is they're not really making aliens anymore. And what I mean by that is the designs are aliens, which is cool to see all these different designs, but there's no alien languages anymore. I mean, even in this movie, Rada, he doesn't speak any Huttese, I don't think, the entire time. The twins actually split between Huttese and Basic. And this random alien in the middle of Nal Hutta, which is a Huttese-speaking, Hutt-dominated planet, he's just going to start speaking English. And it's like, okay, that's fine. It's fine, but I feel like it takes away a little bit of like the alienness of aliens. If you look back at the original Star Wars movies, these aliens are so out there. They speak these random languages, and it kind of builds that universe of different aliens and languages and lore and what it builds all that. And here it's just English, and it makes me think of like the cartoons, right? The cartoons don't tend to use a ton of like Clone Wars and such. I don't think they use as much alien speaking, right? They'll have like the Rhodians and the whoever speaking English, but I can see why in the cartoons, right? Where you have really little kids watching it, and you don't want, it makes more sense if they're all just English speaking. And in the lore, they can. But it's a bit odd when like a random guy on Nal Hutta is just whipping out English to another alien, So it's interesting. I mean, it's a choice. It's a gripe. But I do miss hearing like the Huttese and when you hear that with the Hutts, but you don't hear these alien languages and stuff as much. And but Grogu and him talk, but then Embo shows up, investigating, trying to find Mando and Grogu because he's on a search, and Grogu hides, and the old rocking chair man and Embo talk, and he gets Embo to go away, gives him whatever basic information he has, or makes up some stuff, obviously, because he's hiding Grogu, and off Embo goes. And from this conversation that we just see, we don't hear, he concludes that Mando is in danger from the poison that apparently Embo told him about, and he now is going to whip up this perfect healing food medicine item to give to Grogu, so Grogu can take it back to Mando, and hopefully he, responds well and survives and comes back to life. And that's what happens. Once again, just that whole part where Grogu's by himself, I feel like it brings the movie down a little bit. Because while the cuteness is up to 10, and it's cute, and it visually is really cool, and you're watching Grogu do cute things and whatever, that's fun. But if you look at a deeper storytelling perspective, character development perspective, it's really weak, right? And so, of course, he gets back to Mando. Mando survives. They're good. Now it's time to take down or try to escape, and ultimately leads us back to the huts where we're going to take them down, right? Save Rada and take down the twins. So we return. We fight these big robot guards, which is kind of neat. They're animated like stop motion, which is a really cool little Easter egg touch. And then we fight it out. They free Rada. Rada fights the twins, hut on hut fighting, which is really cool. Mando is fighting Embo and all of that. Grogu calms with the Force the Embo's dog, which is just another like Grogu overpowered Force moment, which is fine. I guess he's just this overpowered guy, right? And that's cool. Nitpick thing. We see it plenty of times. But it does feel like without any training, to be able to force heal, to be able to calm animals perfectly, to be able to, where we watch people like Ezra from Rebels struggle and kind of learning that. It takes a few tries and he just does it. And I guess in the past he's kind of been with animals, so it's fine. But just throwing that out there is something kind of with the movie that's interesting. So they do that, and the huts end up falling down the trap door. Rada does not fall with them because Baby Yoda, Grogu, saves him with the Force and pulls him out. And the twins fall and get eaten up alive by the giant dragon snake. And that's pretty cool and satisfying. And then the rebels, or the New Republic, were notified about this by the Anzellans, who already escaped in their small ship. So they let the New Republic know, I guess. And Sigourney Weaver and all the old veteran X-Wing pilots show up, and they destroy the Hutt Palace. The Hutts are pretty much dead at this point, I imagine, in the world, in the canonical universe. And Mando and them escape, barely, and off they go. Right back to the New Republic with Rada. Rada decides he's going to join the New Republic, which he does at the end. And Mando, on the Razor Crest with Grogu, off to their next adventure into hyperspace. And that's Mandalorian and Grogu. That's the movie. Lots of fun. Looks really cool at times. There's some moments of CGI that are kind of odd, that don't work as well. But it's a lot of fun. You're going to have a good time. It's a Star Wars comic book adventure, like I said in my review. If you've read comic book series before, there's a couple issue arcs that kind of go together on a fun offshoot story, and that's exactly what we get here. It's like Mandalorian and Grogu off on their next adventure, and you get kind of two separate arcs put together. And that's what it is. I say fun a lot in this, but that's what it's meant to be. A fun, you don't think about it too much, kid family movie. The issue with that is I feel like Disney's no longer, for some reason, making their movies and their content, their shows I would say less so, but I mean we haven't made a movie in forever, right? But they opted to make a movie with such little stakes, with such little impact, that it's kind of like at the end it's like, cool, that was fun, but what's the point? What's the point? It was kind of, it's weird to say it was a pointless movie, but it was essentially a pointless movie. If you look back to Mando seasons, you've got the couple episodes that are not as important to the storyline, and they're just kind of fun, offshoot filler episodes. And that's what this whole movie, it's a filler movie. And while it's fun and while it's a good time, it does nothing. It doesn't expand Mandalorian's story. It doesn't expand Grogu's story. It does nothing for their characters. They start off as Mandalorian and Grogu, and it ends with them in the exact same place they did. They had no conflict in the movie. They had nothing that progressed their story. While the Mandalorian show developed their relationship and developed Mandalorian growing into a father figure and developed the Mandalorian lore and all of that. Here it's just the characters you know going on an adventure and nothing changes about them. And so it's fine. It's fine. It's not groundbreaking. People aren't going to leave the theater going, wow, that was a spectacle. While it's just a higher budget Mandalorian show, several episodes put together, right? And there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but there's nothing that's going to rebound Disney Star Wars and bring people back from it either. And if their next movie is a sequel era question mark of a movie, at least in here you had the names to bring people in, I don't know who's going to go see it. I don't know who's going to go see the Starfighter movie other than deep, deep Star Wars fans. Because the people who are on the fringe who aren't deep, deep fans, they don't care as much about the stuff. They might have gone to this because they like Mando and Grogu and they're cool, but are they going to go to a movie where none of the characters are known, or the characters that might be in it are the not liked sequel characters? So I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. But it's bummer because you really want Star Wars to be an in-theater experience movie. But they've got to do something that's compelling and telling a deeper, longer developed story, which this movie wasn't. It was just a turn your brain off, go have fun, laugh, and watch some cool, fun action. I'm trying to think of any other thoughts. Big thought from it. Missed opportunity is they start the movie off, even in the intro dialogue, because they're not going to do a scroll, but in their movies they're going to do a little backstory dialogue. They make the Empire a big part of that, right? Ooh, Mando's after these Imperial remnant leaders. Awesome. That's kind of where we were at in the show. He takes down a leader, and obviously the first half where Rada's out on the moon, Shikari or whatever it is, it's all Imperial based. But it's not really an Imperial villain movie. It's more about the Hutts than anything. The Imperial thing is just a segue to the Hutt stuff. And I like the Hutts. I love the underworld. But if you were looking for something that would have had more impact, it didn't even have to connect to anything else, but if you're kind of showing us more where the Empire's at, that might have been cool. I think it's a missed opportunity to not show us some behind the scenes with a bigger runtime of a movie rather than the show. Showing us some scenes and developing the Empire a little bit more to give us that bigger picture. Because all we really have is the Ahsoka stuff with Thrawn, which is almost kind of separate from the Imperial remnants in the Mando universe of season 3 of Mando. The guys meeting in secret meetings and whatnot. And so I feel like you really missed an opportunity with that to develop that even further. Especially when you're going to start the movie off talking about the Empire and then it not really going, it's kind of a pointless, it's not pointless, it moves the story forward, but it's not a big part of the story ultimately. But yeah, it's fun, but it does nothing for the Mando story. It does nothing for the Grogu story. It's just a comic book adventure. And if that's what you want, then it's going to be fun. But if you're going expecting any level of impact on the Star Wars universe, you will not get that. Now we know where Rada the Hutt is, but I would be surprised if he ever shows up again, So, yeah. I'm really hoping, though, through some way Ahsoka's good and, we move somewhere positive. Because right now, if you go to the theater especially, it is not as crowded as it should be for Star Wars. Hopefully Disney can fix it. But messing up the sequels when they did, buying it and messing that up, it set them on a really hard uphill battle. And for the last several years, other than a couple of properties, they've done a lot of okay. Or things that could have been excellent have been okay. And like here, Mandalorian and Grogu, I mean, if you tell a really compelling, deepening story that develops their characters, it could be an excellent movie. But the problem is, you just told an okay, fun, turn your brain off adventure. At some point, Disney has to decide, right, that's not what we're going to do anymore. We can't just keep producing 6 to 7 out of 10 properties and movies. Maul was really good, but it's an animated cartoon, right? Live action is really more what I'm thinking about. Live action, other than Andor and early Mando, we haven't gotten live action that like is next level 10 out of 10. And maybe Ahsoka Season 2 is that, maybe Starfighter is that, but until you start telling 9 and 10 out of 10 stories again with live action characters, Star Wars will continue to dwindle away, right? And here, they did not tell a 10 out of 10 amazing, impactful Star Wars story. They've told a fun 6 out of 10 Star Wars adventure. And there's room for that, but not when there's no 10 out of 10 things that are building it up either. But that's my thoughts, right? Big time, Mando in the theaters, really exciting, but if you're expecting anything beyond a fun, goofy Star Wars summer adventure, you will not get that. But yeah, that's my thoughts. See you guys later.